Hello scholars, welcome to IELTS Listening Test. The IELTS Listening Test is 40 minutes long. Audio would be not more than 30 minutes. You will have 10 minutes to transfer your answer. Good luck.
The test is in 4 parts: Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. Now look at Part 1. Part 1.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a travel company employee and a customer. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello?
Hi, good morning. This is Talia from Parrot Bay Travel Agency. Is Robert Goddard there?
Yes, speaking.
I'm so sorry that I made such an early phone call, and I'm calling to ask a few questions about your most recent vacation. Could I have 5 minutes of your time?
Sure thing.
Great, thanks. Now, I see here that you visited Melbourne. Was this your first visit to Melbourne?
No, I have actually been there twice before.
I see. Now, what would you say was your favourite part about Melbourne?
Well, I did like seeing the exotic wildlife, and there are great sights to see, but I have to say I was most impressed by the amazing weather.
Yeah, the weather there is amazing. Which of the sites listed as part of our official tour did you see? And of those, which was your favourite?
First I saw the theatre, which was beautifully designed. It was not nearly as cool as the town hall, though. The building is a huge part of Melbourne's history. Definitely my favourite. I saw the aquarium too, but wasn't too impressed.
I see. Yes, people often have great reviews of Town Hall. Now, I would like to ask you about your dining experience. Did you enjoy the food there?
Absolutely, I loved it.
I'm glad to hear it. Could you tell me a little bit about what you most enjoyed about the food?
Being such an international city, I loved the variety. I could find any type of food I wanted, whether I wanted seafood, burgers, or anything else. You name it, and they had it.
Did you drive to Melbourne?
No, I flew. I thought about going by train, but in the interest of time, I decided to go by plane.
Right, I see.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
And would you mind telling me whether you are under 20, between the ages of 20 and 40, or older than 40?
It would be nice if I was still under 20. My vacation probably would have been quite different. Actually, though, I just turned 41 last week.
Oh, happy birthday. So, did you treat yourself and fly first class?
No way. I would love to have a budget that high. I'm more in the mid-range income level. I wasn't always, though. I spent much of my life in a low-income household.
I see. That answers my next question then, of income level. And what was the purpose of this visit?
I had to go there on business a lot before and decided I would go there for tourism this time.
I see. And what is your occupation?
I am mainly a computer programmer. I also write for a travel magazine on the side, which is why I visited Melbourne before, but it's not my main source of income.
I see. Wow, it sounds like you work a lot.
Yes, I am very busy, which is exactly why I took a nice week-long vacation to Melbourne.
I completely agree. would you care to comment on your accommodation?
My hotel was a good value. Staying in the city can get really expensive, so it was nice to find such a good price for the location and quality. I'm glad I didn't end up in some cheap motel in the middle of nowhere.
I'm glad you didn't either. Well, thank you for taking part in our survey, and I'm glad you enjoyed your vacation.
No problem. Take care.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2. Part 2.
You will hear a talk about the main points of interest and the improvements made in the area. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Thank you all for coming to our community meeting. As you know, we're excited to unveil our improvement plan as we look forward to the influx of tourists in the summer months. I'll start with a quick overview of the main points of interest in the area for anyone who may not quite know his or her way around yet, and then I'll get to the improvements made. First off is my favourite, the Science Museum, which is on the corner of St George Road. If you have not visited yet, I encourage you to go before the busy season. It is absolutely spectacular. There is even a flight simulator you can try out. Just west of the Science Museum is the National History Museum. It's a sight not to be missed as well, with each floor devoted to a different era in our nation's history. There are special exhibits for children with interactive games and fun history lessons too. If you're looking for parking, it is available on the intersection of Queen Street and South King Street in the car park. Standard hourly and daily rates do apply. The best place for souvenirs is the shopping mall, though it gets extremely busy during peak times. You can get there from the Tube or the entrance on Timber Road, just south of Cornwall Road. This area has students everywhere, usually from the primary school across the street from the shopping mall. Classes often take field trips and engage in guided tours through the area. So that's the overview of the main sites, and hopefully by now I've given you a general idea of the area.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now I'm going to outline the improvements we have made in our efforts to make the experience even better for each and every one of our visitors. You probably noticed when you first drove into the car park this morning that there is now additional signage to help avoid confusion. The directions were not entirely clear at first, so we have increased the number of one-way signs indicating the correct direction of traffic flow. Not far from there, in line with our mission of giving back to the community, we constructed a brand new playground for the primary school. It is really something to be excited for. The equipment is state-of-the-art and includes swings, a small climbing wall, and even an obstacle course. Now we'll head north and take a look at the Science Museum. In response to our feedback from past visitors to the museum, there is now free information available outlining not only upcoming IMAX showings, but also natural wonders like meteor showers, eclipses, and other cool natural events. The Science Museum isn't the only museum improving the experience of its visitors. The National History Museum has added an entire new wing to its facility to accommodate the large crowds of people gathering to see the Civil War exhibit, Inventions Timeline exhibit, and other wonderful sections of the museum. The increase in space will definitely give a more calm, comfortable experience for visitors. And finally, remember when there was actually a line at the mall entrance from the tube station? It was terrible trying to get anywhere from the tube because foot traffic got so backed up sometimes. We have addressed that by adding another entry point into the mall from the other end of the platform to disperse the crowd. So those are the major improvements we have made. Clearly, having too many people that want to visit and enjoy what our community has to offer the public is a good problem to have, and I am confident that we have made the changes necessary to accommodate the growing interest in the area. As always, we welcome any questions, comments, or concerns about the new improvement plan. In a few minutes, I will open up the floor for questions, but you can also contact me or any other board member by email or through the city website. Thank you for coming, and I now encourage you to stay for the questions and answers panel occurring between now and 10:30.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You will hear a discussion about shopping habits. First look at questions 21 to 24. As you listen to the first part of the discussion, answer questions 21 to 24.
Excuse me. I wonder if you'd mind answering a few questions. You see, I'm doing a project.
Fine, what's this on?
Well, I'm looking at the people's shopping habits.
Okay.
Can I ask you, first of all, are you a student?
Well, I was a student here last year, but since then I've left, and I'm working in a bank now as a cashier. I just came to see a friend.
Oh, that's okay. So how often do you go shopping?
Oh, I buy a lot of books. Should I exclude books?
Oh, if you leave books aside, what about shopping for all of your personal items, study things, and that sort of thing?
Okay, because I go to the supermarket almost every day, it seems the other things, I'd say, I tend to do it every other week.
And do you spend the same amount each time?
I guess so. I only have about £100 a month spare, so I'd probably spend about £50 each time.
What sort of shops do you like best? The department store or the small retail outlets?
Oh, I like big department stores, so everything's in one place. The weather's so bad, so it's a bit miserable trudging from one little shop to another.
Great. What do you find most difficult to buy?
What do you mean?
Well, what do you have to really search for? What takes you a long time to find?
Oh, jeans, definitely. You can get hold of a sweater or a CD in a moment, but with jeans I can spend all afternoon and still not find a pair that fits.
Okay, one last question. Who do you usually shop with?
Now, I usually go shopping on my own, but if I want to make it more of a social occasion with friends to have a coffee and things, I often go with colleagues from work, in our lunch hour.
Well, thank you very much. You've been very helpful.
No problem.
Before the next part begins, you will have a chance to look at questions 25 to 30. As you listen, answer questions 25 to 30.
Hello, Dale. How did you get on with your shopping inquiries?
Well, I got 50 people to answer questions and the results were quite interesting.
OK, let's have a look.
Well, those were handouts and here you can see that the majority of people I interviewed said they went shopping once a week. Most often, that was the weekend.
Right.
For those people who spend enormous amounts of money, if you see this chart, you can see that half the people spend £45 a month, and while 15% of people spend more than that, an average of £75, the rest spend relatively small amounts. Even the regular shoppers spend no more than £20 a month.
Window shoppers?
Yes, I asked them what kinds of shops they prefer, and the response was unanimous. Everyone went for department stores. I think that's what young people today want.
That's understandable, and that's a useful statistic, I think.
I also talked to them about the things they found most difficult to buy. I thought the answer was going to be something like books or study materials, but it's always clothes. They have problems with things related to hobbies. As far as sportswear is concerned, they complain about the lack of shops that sell it. Not many had trouble buying sweaters and things like that, but shoes and trousers were really problematic.
Was that, again, because there just isn't enough variety?
Yes, they say everywhere they just come across the same styles, so they just give up after a while.
I know what they mean.
Lastly, I asked them whom they want to shop with.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear a lecture about study and answer questions 31 to 40. First look at questions 31 to 40. As you listen to the lecture, answer questions 31 to 40.
Can anybody hear me? Is this microphone working? Good. Now, welcome everybody to the second of these lectures on successful study at college. Yesterday we looked at housekeeping issues, where to find information, how to use the library computer system, and so on. Today we're going to cover an issue that will be vitally important to you all throughout your time here at college, and that is time management. Hundreds of books have been written about time management, and those of you who are interested in doing some extra reading on the subject are very welcome to see me after the lecture, as I have a book list here and some other useful materials. Now, time management. In the past, this used to mean making a list to plan for every hour of the week and then try to stick to this plan. These days, however, the whole idea of managing time has changed. In fact, if you think about it, you'll find that it's impossible to manage time. It just goes. So what you really need to manage is yourself. To manage yourself effectively, You need to have a clear idea both of what you want to achieve and how to achieve it. In other words, you need to set goals and you need to move towards achieving these goals in an efficient and systematic way. Most coursework at the college is set by mid-semester, and at the end of the semester usually involves 2 written assignments of between 1,500 and 3,000 words in length. If you look around you at college, you will see that during the first weeks of the term, everyone looks cheerful and focused, followed by a change around week 6, assignment time, when people start to look a bit stressed. The library reports that an increasing number of students become angry when books are not available. So what's happened? Has everybody become suddenly irritable and angry for no reason? Not quite. The reason is that people have not managed their resources well. They have not set priorities for reaching their goals and, as a result, some of them realise they are going to do badly with their assignments. This will not be because they lack intelligence or love of the subject. They will fail because they did not have a clear idea of what they have to do and how long it should take them. Let's step back a minute. What do we mean by establishing goals? Well, basically, it means deciding what you want to achieve. In other words, deciding on the results that you want to achieve. The students that I've mentioned found themselves very stressed, mainly because they have an assignment to do. But they did not fully think through the effect that this would have on their day-to-day life. There's an awful lot of spare time in a day. For example, if you manage to spend some of that time, even just 1 hour, on an activity that helps you with your study, that 1 hour could have a major impact in your course, particularly if you make it a regular habit. I'd like to ask you now to have a look at the planners in your information kits. You will see that there are 3, 1 term planner, 1 weekly planner, and 1 daily planner. The term planner is to help you get an overview of everything that you will need to do for the term. The weekly planner is to help you week by week, and the daily planner will help you with the really detailed planning. Before we go any further, I would like you to make a note in your daily planner right now. I want you to picture how you could make a major difference in your life by spending just 1 hour a day on some activities for the next term. Background reading, for example, or preparing a bibliography. Now imagine the benefit at the end of the term. The term diary and the weekly diary are the most important ones. However, a week is really the shortest time you have to establish an overview of your time for planning purposes. Now you need to set priorities for the term. Work out how you could achieve those priorities and the results that you desire. If you can get into the habit of planning like this, you'll soon find that you've actually had more time than before to spend on relaxation and other activities that you enjoy. Now let's share some of the ideas that you've come up with. I'll divide you up into groups to share your ideas. Okay.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you will now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Hope this helped you. Please like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon.